now is Leon Bullen, leader of the Jab Jab Jouvert Troupe. Welcome to Good Morning SKN.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so Jab Jab, history. Let's talk about the origins of Jab Jab.
Okay. So Jab Jab derives from the word diable. French word diable, which means devil. So some persons are under the impression that we worship, we engage in devil mass. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. It's just that in colonial times or during the times of slavery, the white plantation owners would have a band. They celebrated Carnival, especially in the French Catholic tradition. They celebrated Carnival prior to Lent, right? And of course, the slaves were not permitted to do that. They had to tend the fields and what have you. But they would play a mass called neg jardin, which means field slaves. So they would literally cover themselves in a dark varnish. These white people cover themselves in a dark varnish, and that was part of their carnival celebration. It's a satire on the slaves, right? And of course, the slaves saw this for centuries, right? They saw themselves being portrayed by plantation owners and what have you. So after emancipation, they decided, the slaves, to cover themselves in molasses, because molasses was easy, because all these islands grew sugarcane. And molasses being a byproduct of sugarcane. They would cover themselves in molasses. And it was a way of rebellion, in a way, to throw it back to the white slave owners, right? They wore the helmets because, and again, it's called Diable, devil, because they saw what the white owners, former slave owners, did to us as an evil act. And so they referred to them as Diable, devils. And Jab Jab is Diable, which is double devil, right? So they were seen as double devils. So it's really a silent form of protest, because back then you really couldn't protest outwardly. You couldn't, but it was a form of protest, and a lot of people don't know this. There's a deep history that goes back to slavery of the jab, and that is why I'm so keen on playing even to this day. I've been playing for like 30 years now. And still ever since I was a kid. So actually, I've been playing longer than that because I'm a little older than that. But growing up in Grenada, it's so commonplace. The jab, it's such a Grenadian thing. To remind you, it's celebrated in other parts of the Caribbean, like Haiti and Martinique, and so Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Trinidad.
But it's Trinidad. But it is so huge in Grenada. It's like the pulse of Grenadian Carnival. Whereas it might be like a little thing in some of the other countries or part of the Carnival. Jab Jab is Carnival. Forget about the rest of Carnival. Jab Jab is Carnival in Grenada. Seriously, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of persons in one band. You just a sea of black with the helmets and the conch shells and the chains. Of course, the chains take you back to slavery, right?
Buckets.
The snakes, the buckets.
What's in those buckets?
The buckets represent the posies, the bedpans that our grandmothers and so used to have under the bed.
No posy.
It goes back to those days, So buckets, and of course the buckets are used to beat as well. You turn the bucket over and it becomes a drum. And Jab Jab has a lot to do with chanting. You come up with chants, you talk about the government, you talk about what your neighbor did and what your neighbor didn't do. You make up songs. But a lot of it could be, some of it could be political, some of it social. It could be, for instance, if we're talking about inflation, I'm sure the Jab Jab next year will talk about inflation. That's one of the chants. So it's a social thing. It's a social form of commentary. So you use the buckets and anything you could put your hand on. And of course, we can talk about the animals and so on.
I wonder why are the snakes and the raw seafood and all of that incorporated into Jab?
Okay, so I don't have the full history of this, but I read somewhere that the snakes, for instance, are used, again, it's a form of satire. Because snakes were used to hunt slaves before, or as a form of torture. And so we're using these forms of torture now as a way to express our disgust, our revolt against what would have happened to us back during the days of slavery. So that kind of explains the slaves, the raw fish and the, so they put pieces of saltfish here, or maybe a fish head, and you have red food coloring coming down from the blood. And again, all of that goes back to slavery. It's the condition that slaves were under at the time. The pain, the bloodshed, all of that. So I think all of that comes from that. I don't know the full history, but I know that has something to do with it.
All right. So Jab Jab and St. Kitts and Nevis. Let's talk about the incorporation.
Right. So there's a growing community of Grenadians here in St. Kitts and Nevis. You may or may not be aware.
I am.
Right. Some of us work at Central Bank. Some are lawyers. Some are police officers. They pretty much all walks of life. And as the numbers grew, we first formed an association
Nice.
back in around 2015 or so. We call ourselves Grenadian Connection. And
nice.
so maybe after about 2 or 3 years after having formed the group, some Grenadians said, hey man, you have Carnival here in December, which, by the way, well, we could talk about it another time. For us, we have Carnival in December.
Yeah.
December is Christmas. But, of course, we lived here long enough. It's become part of what we do, too.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring a piece of Grenadian's Carnival to St. Kitts and Nevis. Like, why don't we form a Jab Jab band? And, some of us thought it was a great idea. Others thought, well, no, it's not going to work here and whatnot. And we're like, hey, if it doesn't work, at least we'll have a good time.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll introduce something new to St. Kitts Carnival that most persons have not seen before. And so the decision was, let's go ahead with the band. We formed a small band of maybe 50-odd persons.
Small band, he says.
Yeah, this was in 2018. So we came out in 2018 for the first time, right? We have an in-house DJ who actually plays. He's a pretty good DJ. We got music from Grenada from one of the drum bands down there. One of the
no?
Not Tapi, but it's like a drum corps, right? That plays Jab Jab music. Because Jab Jab music is about drums.
Okay.
It's, big on drums and bass. It's a lot of doom, 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 it's that kind of thing. It gets into your system, right? And so we came up with a chant of our own. We did a big splash. By all accounts, the folks in St. Kitts loved it. I heard some people saying, oh, wow, when they saw us passing, they were just amazed that we were so black and with the helmets and, everything. They were completely amazed. And the long and short of the story is we won Best Small Band of the Year in 2018.
Nice. With 50-something.
Well, it grew to over 100 by the time we got into town. Because people started to join, some tourists came in the band, it was just, and actually that's the way Jab Jab is in Grenada. It's like a free-for-all, although we try to, it's more structured here.
Yeah.
So you have to register and all that. In Grenada, there's no registration. There's no, you just come with your old pants, your old shoes, and you jump.
Everything old. Right? Everything old, guys.
There's somebody with a bucket of oil somewhere. You just go to say, hey, give me some oil. And you just cover up. You make sure, of course, you lard yourself down first before, hey, mind you, you don't put on oil on your skin just like that. You have to cover yourself with lard, Crisco, something like that, to form a protective layer. Otherwise, you will smell of oil for 2 weeks, and we don't want that. Right?
You've been warned.
Yeah. But we had a wonderful time in 2018. We did it again in 2019. We also won Best Small Band of the Year.
Nice.
So we were very, very proud of that. And now we're bringing it back for the 3rd time this year, and we'll see what happens.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of good energy, I gotta say.
It's a lot of energy, but it's a vibe. It's a vibe unlike anything you've ever experienced or you would ever experience. It's just a different, the environment is so electric. It's not your normal, your normal Jouvert is great, the vibe is good, the energy is good, but Jab Jab it's almost like a spiritual experience in a way.
Look at that. So Jamie, are we jabbing this year?
Yeah.
This is Jamie's face. So tell us, since we're talking about the experience, tell us about the price of the package, where we can register, etc., etc.
So our band, I think, by all accounts, it's extremely cheap to participate. We have 2 very simple packages. $100 and $120.
Okay.
So $100 if you have your helmet already. $120
if you have your helmet
if you already have a helmet.
So should I need a helmet? How much would I pay?
$120.
Oh, $120. Oh,
right.
Fair enough.
And to be fair, the normal helmet would be like a construction helmet with cow horns and everything, like real cow horns or goat horns, right? We can't afford to do that. If we were to do that, it would cost you, at least $250. Right? The helmet alone is like $150, right? So what we did is that we imported some helmets from the States via Amazon. Okay. This is what we've been doing for the first 2 iterations of the Jab Jab. So we have these plastic helmets that actually, when you cover them up with a little oil and we wanted to paint the tips in red. We want to add a little color this year.
Okay.
That's another wrinkle. There are a few wrinkles that we're going to throw into the band this year.
Okay.
But that's one of the wrinkles we want to throw in.
Okay.
When you cover them properly, you cannot tell the difference between that horn or that helmet and the real Jab Jab helmet. So for just a mere $20, you can play with the full garb. And the full garb is oil, helmets, the wrinkle, which I don't want to give out all the wrinkles right now, but it's a little wrinkle. And you can walk with your own chain, a piece of chain to drag on the ground. Do not destroy the people's property, nor the roads. We tell everybody that. You just drag the chain on the ground. Again, representative of slavery. Our bonds back then were linked to slavery.
What about the conch shell?
Conch shell if you have it, right? Anything you have that can make noise, you walk with it. I mean, that's the whole spirit of Jab Jab. It's a free-for-all kind of thing.
Free for all kind of thing. All right, starting time, meeting point. Starting time, meeting point.
Okay, so I think I have to get back to the registration, but we get to that.
Okay, no problem.
So we normally start at the Frisco gas station, right? This year, well, we were advised to start closer to the Bay Road, so closer to the Rams cash and carry area, not in the Rams location, not in the actual on their premises,
in the vicinity,
but in that vicinity.
Okay.
But we will confirm that shortly.
Okay.
And we have everybody's email addresses. We'll send out the exact starting location, but we're thinking of starting closer to the Bay Road and just go down the Bay Road straight into town. In the years prior, we started at Frisco and we went down on road, and then cut across to the Bay Road.
Okay, got you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we plan to start around 4:35 this year. We want to get off early before the bigger bands, because once they get into town, we're gobbled up.
You think?
Well,
you can't miss the black people.
No, eventually, but initially, you know, there's a all the bands come together and you can't really move. So we want to get there early before that congestion happens.
Got you.
Right? Get in there so people can really see us in all our splendor, our black splendor.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, that's the whole idea.
Yes. So back to the registration you were saying.
Right. So we have online registration.
Okay.
Right. We use Google Forms. And so what I can do is give up my contact information so that I can then forward the link to whomever may be interested. And they can go online, register, select the package, 2 packages, 100, 120, very cheap.
Very.
And of course, for those who are really big into Jab Jab and whatnot, of course there's drinks with it, right? Until you run out. So part of the package would be, your drinks. We have some drinks from Grenada. We have petition drinks. We have a nice blend of drinks.
So what is the Grenadian drink?
Well, there's a drink called Rivers. It's overproof rum. It's not something that I play with. I don't touch. Okay. Because I'm not a big, I have enough to keep me happy. Okay. But I'm not big on it. But there are Grenadians who love their Rivers. So we brought up some Rivers for Grenadians and those who want to try it. They said it's very strong. I guess it's similar to what you have in St. Kitts, the
Killaby?
No, like the bush rum, the
Hammond?
The name. Hammond, right, there you go.
Okay.
Right. So it's in that vein.
Okay. Ooh,
right?
Sure.
Right. And of course there's some other drinks that we have for persons, and some beer and some soft drinks, water of course. So we'll have a stock bar, and that's part of the package.
Nice.
So we think it's very reasonable.
All right, what about the music? Got a few DJs here.
Right, so quite a few. The main DJ is DJ Katai. He's Grenadian, but he has some of his Kittian friends. One person I think is coming over from St. Martin. So he's established himself among the DJ community in St. Kitts. So he's been able to call in some of his friends here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, the emphasis would be on Jab Jab music, but we want to be inclusive. Okay. We want to have the local Kittian music, of course. It's Jab Jab, so you have to play Jab Jab music. But there are some Kittian artists who are now on a Jab Jab rhythm. So we're gonna and I heard one some time ago and it sounded pretty good. Nice. So we're gonna play his music. We're gonna play the other popular songs for St. Kitts Carnival as well. It's gonna be a nice mixture of Grenadian Jab Jab, Kittian Jab Jab, Kittian regular soca. Okay. So it should be a nice mixture.
Nice. Yeah. So once again, where can persons contact you if they want to register? Because I do not want them to miss the opportunity to be part of the Black Troupe.
So they can contact me, Leon Bullen, at 763-4971. 763-4971. Or they can email me at leonbullen, LeonBullen, @yahoo.com.
I gotta say, your name kind of gives the ring of the horn, so I love it, how everything works together.
Indeed.
I don't think anybody will forget that. Well, thank you so much, Leon, for coming and talking with us all about Jab Jab. It sounds very engaging and interesting, and can't wait to see you guys on the road.
Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you. And by the way, I think I said we'll be introducing the charcoal this year. So it's not just the old oil, but we've introduced the charcoal mixed with baby oil. It forms a nice
So
paste.
it's cleaner.
It's cleaner, it's good for your skin. So for those who are squeamish about the old oil, because this is old oil we're talking about.
Old
you
oil.
know, you have to play to understand. You know, when you see it, you might want to run. But you know, it's something that's been done in Grenada for over 50 years.
Yes.
You know, Jab Jab is uniquely Grenadian, and, you know, in terms of the essence of it. So we want to soften it on persons who are interested in playing but don't want the old oil on their skin. So
Yeah.
we're going to introduce a charcoal mix with
Yes.
baby oil. It's something that's actually growing in Grenada as we speak.
Okay.
It's becoming more and more popular. So we also want to get on the bandwagon and introduce that to
Keep the authenticity.
keep the authenticity.
Love it. Love it. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
It was indeed a pleasure. Do come again next year when you
Sure.
and let us know how small this troupe was this year, which I doubt it will be. Yeah.
I will let you know. I'll keep you updated on our
All right.
progress.
And enjoy.